me over to Frost and got a seat out of the Cove Hill School and put it in there. They had no seats. They were all filled. He brought a seat at Cove Hill and put me in there for 2 months. And Miss Margie Harrell was the teacher. Richard Gibson, Sam Gibson, Bedford Curry, Stanley Curry, Carl Sharp, all those generations gone. They were the eighth grade students. Viva Gibson, Richard and Sam. Sam was a little boy, just like he and I were the same age.
Well, what was education like in those one-room schools?
Good.
So
Darn good.
you packed your lunch. You had to pack your lunch.
Oh yeah. If you had lunch, you took it, and my lunch was the only one that I saw in all the years that I went 5 years to Cove Hill. And Edith Morrison was my teacher, 3 of those. She married Mitchell Sharp. And she was from Reading. I learned enough under her, and Clara Jordan was a school teacher for years. That was she was my first school teacher. Flynn's sister, Froda Flynn, she was Froda Williams later at Durham and taught. She was one, and him, Miss Margie Harrell, was 2 months when my dad took me there. And Beveridge, Hildreth Beveridge here was my teacher the next year after. And Hildreth married Earl Denver, and they went to Barberton, Ohio. As soon as she finished school, the World War I was starting, and Earl got a job, Earl Denver, and went to Ohio, and she was going to teach school later, but she died with the flu up there. You were asking, those people taught you. I knew enough when I got to high school that I didn't have to study in high school. They taught you so much grammar and English. They taught you your nouns, pronouns, adverbs, verbs, adjectives, all that stuff. You know, that's the way my dad taught. Write a sentence. You go through there and you tell me what, right above it, whatever one of the pronoun, preposition, adjective. Go through it. Right now, when I say something to kids, can you parse a noun? Can you conjugate a verb? What's that?
Yeah, it's not taught much.
Unless they had taken Latin, they didn't even know what you were talking about.
Right. Now, where did you go to high school?
Marlton.
Marlton High
I
School.
went 1 year to Cass.
Yeah.
My aunt, Clara, was a teacher at Raywood.
Raywood?
Yeah. You know where Raywood?
No, I don't actually know where. I've heard a lot
You go
about
up to Dunmore, go out that road to Sidlington. You know where Sidlington
it. And the Raywood's out there? Yeah, I know where.
Raywood was a big lumber company.
Yeah, I know it was.
It was big.
And it was a place.
C&O put a bridge across the Greenbrier River to send trains across there. They'd send out 10 or 12 boxcars of lumber every 2 or 3 days. That was there from, let's say, 10, 12 to 1928. It's back to a farm now. And there was 500 people at least lived there. They had a big band building there.
Well, when you went to Marlton, who were your teachers down there? Who were your teachers at Marlton? Can you remember them?
Well, Douglas McNeil, what I was going to tell you up there, my Aunt Clara was a teacher there, and she was married to Harry Schofield. He was secretary of the draft board later. After the lumber company went out, he went to the First National Bank in Marlton, and then they picked him as secretary of the draft board during World War II, and he died right at the end of the war. She said they're going to have a 9th grade at Cass. The road, they've opened a high school in Green Bay, but the road's so bad we can't get the kids from Cass out there. They're going to grade it. Gravel it. West Virginia Pulp Paper is going to help gravel it, so next year we can take our freshmen out. But we're going to have a 9th grade here, and you come over and stay with us. There's 3 boys, Rex Hutchins, Freel Boy, and Arnold Frazee are going to walk. You could walk with them, and you won't have to go to Marlton more. So I went over there and walked to Miss Edith Pitts was one of the members of one of the head families over there. She was a relative, Virginia. And another one was Eloy Graham. She was an English teacher. She married a state senator in Charleston. I forget what his name. And my math teacher was Pearl Carter.
And she just died a few short years ago.
5.
Unbelievable.
And her mother and my dad were first cousins.
Unbelievable.
Anyway, that is how that happened. The next year, my dad boarded me at Marlton, and I spent, where S.L. Brown. His house was the corner house. If you're coming up from Motor Parks, the road cuts off to the right, the street. That big yellow house there on the corner was Squire Brown.
Oh, okay.
The county clerk for
and quite a writer.
Lifetime.
He liked to write too.
And Mr. Brown kept a housekeeper, and her income was, he let her keep boarders from the high school, and she got the income for keeping his house. So I stayed my next 3 years right there. And my teacher, Douglas McNeil, Eric Clutter, and I can't remember the other band teacher that was there. Cap Killingsworth was the third. It was 3 men of them. And Miss Fatty Overholt. Did you go to Marlton?
I did.
You and Miss Fatty.
No, it's still beyond my time. But yeah, I know who you're talking about, though.
She
her
was
husband,
Paul Overholt. He had the men's shop.
Right, she was Paul Overholt's thing.
And I can't think of the names of the other, but they were good teachers. And listen, she taught me so much English that I did not have one thing to do in college, freshman English, but go there and sit.
And listen.
And when they wanted something written, I'd write it. I knew how to parse, how to conjugate. I knew the parts of speech, all that. I'd learned that in the one-room school. Now, when I taught in the one-room school, and the teachers all did that, they thought you had one teacher. What the teacher did was pick a good fourth grader or fifth and say, would you listen to these little children read? Would you help them with their ABCs or count? And put them over in the corner. And they were tickled to death. They're playing teacher. You let them do. Then all you teach your 7th and 8th grade. Spend your time with them. And you can put your 6th through. Every school had 2 or 3 outstanding kids. And you can just assign them. And they could have your little kids reading and spelling and doing all that before you even know it.
That was smart.
That was fun.
Yeah.
And I love teaching. If I could have made a living, I would have been a teacher all my life. And in my book, I think, that was stories that I told the radio station, just like here. And they had nearly 2,000 pages over a 15-year period. And Gibbs Kinder would come to me and said, this ought to be a book, right? I said, Gibbs, I'm so old. I don't have time to do what I need to do, and I couldn't afford it anyway. So a few days, Gibbs stopped again and said, that ought to be it. If we'd edit that in a book, would you give us a little something? I said, I will sign something that gives you every penny that you get. And I've never got the penny. I said, if you're foolish enough to put your money in that, you deserve all of it. He laughed. I said, if you sell 100, I'll be surprised.
Well, it's still out there.
Oh, it's
still selling.
Oh, it's selling in Chicago. You buy it in Las Vegas.
I went to the Opera House when you were doing a book signing.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Well, here in Lewisburg and Green Bay,